Now, this video will admittedly not add too much to the discussion on Pokemon that's happened right now, but I do want to give a little bit of my own history of Pokemon with this video. So if you're wondering where this video is coming from, the newest Pokemon coming out is Pokemon Sword and Shield. And, everyone's hyped for it. It's a Pokemon game. Who doesn't like Pokemon? I certainly like Pokemon. We got a Vaporeon over here. Kind of killed a sock monkey and trying to put Vaporeon up, but whatever. But I like Pokemon. I've been into Pokemon since as long as I can remember. I remember when Johto was a new thing, so I guess I had gotten into it by the time of the first generation. I started off with the anime, and then eventually I spread into the cards. In fact, we have my cards over here. I didn't expect to get them out, but, I collected the cards for a significant amount of time. We have anywhere from the Kanto era, it's Gen 1, all the way to Gen 4, I believe. Once Gen 5 had started, I wasn't collecting Pokemon cards anymore, but the cards are all Gen 1 through 4. And eventually I got into the video games, and ultimately the video games, the original platform Pokemon was on, became my favorite branch of the Pokemon franchise. I started off with, how many of us start off with an illegal copy, with a ROM and an emulator. With my first game I played was Pokemon Leaf Green. That was on an emulator. But ultimately, my first actual physical game I got was Pokemon Emerald for the Game Boy Advance. Although I don't own a Game Boy Advance, so I played it in the dual slot for the Nintendo DS. And I played through Pokemon Emerald, and that was my first playthrough of a Pokemon game that was legally owned, that was a real copy. And I played through Emerald, and I really loved that. And my very first Pokemon I got, and my very first game of Pokemon, was Torchic, my starter Pokemon. Now, where is that Torchic today? Well, the best thing about Pokemon is my Torchic is right here. That same Torchic is now a Blaziken and just chilling in Pokemon Y. Come on, give me the heart emojis. You know you want to give heart emoji. There you go. Which, by the way, my Nintendo 3DS is a Pokemon X and Y design. So, my Blaziken's chilling in Pokemon Y because every time I played a Pokemon game, I transferred Pokemon over from game to game. I learned the hard way through the time I was playing the emulators that you're supposed to train multiple Pokemon and not just your starter. And by the time I had gotten Pokemon Emerald, I was like, alright, I will play this game with the philosophy that I will only catch Pokemon that I think are cool or are given to me by the story or whatever, so this will only be Pokemon I think are cool or make sense for me to catch in the storyline of the games. So that's what I did. And what resulted in, and I would spend time training each Pokemon. And what resulted from that was, a sort of bond with these Pokemon, with these digital files in this game. And, one of the themes of Pokemon is bonding with your partners, They really want you to like these Pokemon. So every time I played a new game, I would transfer the Pokemon. Now, in order to sort of balance things out, I either set a limitation on myself, or it was limited by the game itself. I'm sorry if you hear people out there. They're being kind of loud. But I would set this limit on myself, or the hardware would limit it for me, that I will not transfer my Pokemon over until I've beat the game. Like, beat the Elite Four. Then I'll transfer my Pokemon over and use them for mostly, battling and stuff like that. The only real big exception is Pokemon Y, because I would not have finished Pokemon Y if I didn't transfer everyone over, because I was just getting tired of it. So I'm like, alright, just give me my Rayquaza from Emerald, and let's just steamroll this stuff. I don't even care anymore. But that's what I did. So I've transferred my Pokemon from Emerald to Platinum. We kind of skipped Heart Gold and Soul Silver. We skipped any other Game Boy Advance region, stuff like that. We went from Emerald to Platinum to White 2 to Y. And I've stopped playing Pokemon games after Y just because Pokemon games are expensive and I'm waiting to save money for them. So I intend to play Ultra Moon. That's the next Pokemon game I intend to get. And then eventually Sword and Shield. The problem is they announced with Sword and Shield, at least at the time of recording, that Pokemon, not every Pokemon you have will be able to be transferred over to Sword and Shield. For balancing issues and development issues, they won't have every Pokemon available in Pokemon Sword and Shield. Which, as someone who really loves these Pokemon, who's been going through game after game, I've been transferring them all up. I have all these different Pokemon games that are just empty because everyone's been traded up to future generations. Hearing that I might not be able to transfer everyone from Y, or when I eventually finish Ultra Moon, I won't be able to transfer everyone from there to the new Pokemon game. That's very disappointing for me. And I know a lot of people are disappointed by this too. This ability to transfer Pokemon for me was was one of my favorite elements of the Pokemon games. Now, I'll give you my honest opinion. I think that this move to not allow people to transfer all their Pokemon over from one game to the next, is a terribly stupid idea. Now, I understand if there's been some questionable wording with this announcement. Keep that in mind. It might even be interpreted as you won't be able to transfer your Pokemon over until you beat the game, which was the case with Platinum. That makes a lot more sense to me. But not being able to transfer the Pokemon over to the next game, the next generation, period, at all, I think it goes right in the face of everything the Pokemon generations before have been trying to do. Bending over backwards to allow you to transfer Pokemon in some cases. So I think this change is so stupid that I do believe that they're eventually going to go back on it. They're eventually going to change things, go in, do what they need to do, and say, alright, you can transfer them all over, as long as they don't have conflicting move sets and stuff like that. Sort of like the barrier between... There's always a barrier between entries for Pokemon. Like, you can't have so many HMs and stuff like that when transferring generations. So I think this move is so stupid that I think they have to go back and change it. So I'm disappointed, but I don't actually feel as disappointed as I would be if I thought this was going to be the permanent status quo. But of course, there's a lot of wording here that's very questionable. Some of the wordings might suggest that you could transfer them after the game's beaten, and some of the wording suggests that no future Pokemon game will be able to transfer Pokemon, period. So, it's a very interesting situation, so I'm very interested to see what the future holds. I, for one, am just glad to finally get a Pokemon video done, because I can't believe I haven't done a Pokemon video on this channel besides the Pokemon Fire Red Let's Play. So, we finally have a Pokemon commentary video on the channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. My social media are all in the description. You can follow me on Twitter, where I give amazing hot takes. Join the Discord server, the link is in the description. And subscribe if you have not yet. We make a lot of variety on this channel. Ultimately, if you're a nerd, there's going to be something that strikes your fancy. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day, ladies and gentlemen.